It was the 4th year of our marriage when Marcus started seeing a young college student. She was bright, beautiful, and full of life. She dragged Marcus, a man worth billions, to eat from food trucks and chase after her favorite esports player. Marcus called me. "I won't be home tonight. I'm going to watch Alex's game," the girl beside him scoffed. "She's just a boring old woman. Does she even know who Alex is?" They didn't know. After the call ended, Alex pressed me against the interior of a dimly lit car. His canine tooth bit gently into the back of my neck. A faint prickle of pain. "Grace, I won the game. How are you going to reward me tonight?" I first met Luna on my 26th birthday. I was still smiling and chatting with guests at the banquet. "There's a slight issue at the office. Marcus will be home a bit later." But the gift has already been sent over before I could finish. Marcus brought her in right in front of me. Luna wore a bright red dress, clinging to Marcus's arm. Curiously looking around, she chattered like a lively girl. "You said you'd take me somewhere fun, is this it?" She glanced around, her eyes lingering on my face for 2 seconds before moving away. "Wow, that cake looks good. I want to eat it." Marcus watched her with a smile, indulging her as she turned my birthday dinner into a complete farce. The guests around us whispered, "How can she be so brazen, acting out even in front of Grace? She's favored, I guess." Even though they're married, didn't Grace aggressively pursue him? How humiliating. Her birthday is ruined, and she doesn't even dare to say a word. If I were her, I'd want to die. I wrapped myself in my expensive evening gown, pretending not to hear the mocking words. I only sought out Marcus and quietly said, "We agreed you wouldn't bring anyone in front of me. No matter what, basic decency should be." Before I could finish, he cut me off rudely. Having had a few drinks with Luna, his eyes carried a hint of tipsiness. When he looked down at me, the contempt and disdain in his gaze were even more pronounced. "Grace, it seems I've spoiled you too much in the past," he smiled. "Who are you to demand respect from me?" I stood frozen. The exceptionally bright lights above shone down. The hard shell I had painstakingly built up melted like ice under his mocking stare. Coming from the Vance family's humble origins, yet marrying Marcus, everyone thought I had married up. I wasn't even fully considered a Vance family member. She's desperate enough, but a woman from that kind of background is inherently behind me. Someone's commentary grew a little too loud, reaching our ears. Marcus, with an indifferent expression, handed me a check. "That project you said you wanted to invest in last time. Go ahead and invest in it yourself. Grace, don't think I've wronged you so much." He raised an eyebrow. "If you learn how to please me more, you might even be able to sell yourself for a higher price." The banquet, which had devolved into a farce, ended. Marcus escorted a drunk Luna away. They hadn't even left my sight before the two of them kissed under the garden lights. Through the rain-streaked glass, I watched them calmly for a while. I lowered my head and carefully put away the check. Then I took out my phone and tapped into a pinned conversation. A message I had sent before the banquet, "Missing you a bit," had received 6 replies in total. 5 hours ago. 1. 4 hours ago. "I'm about to train." 3 hours ago. "Actually, I don't mind being disturbed during training." 2 hours ago. "They said today is your birthday." 1 hour ago. "Happy birthday." And the one that had just popped up, "I'm coming to see you." I curved my lips and smiled. I replied to him, "No need. I'll come watch your game next week." At the top of the screen, the typing indicator flashed for a long time, then he sent 2 replies. "Okay, don't toy with me." For the next month, Marcus openly brought Luna to various events. They were like a young couple deeply in love. Marcus, worth billions, was dragged by her to eat from food trucks, take photo booth pictures, and kiss in Bali's sea breeze. He even went with her to watch Alex's offline game. Alex, the hottest esports player right now, a 19-year-old prodigy who had already shown amazing talent. Last year, he had led his esports team to win the world championship. Luna wore his fan merchandise headband, linked arms with Marcus, and enthusiastically took photos at the stadium entrance. Marcus, a little jealous, put his arm around her waist. "A kid who's barely grown up. Do you like him that much?" "I just like watching his games." Luna smiled and kissed his cheek. "Of course, I love you most." My car was parked by the roadside, giving me a full view of the scene. Just as I suppressed the nausea in my chest, I received a phone call from Marcus. "That project you mentioned yesterday? Let's talk about it another day." His tone was cold and impatient. "I have something to take care of tonight. Won't be coming home." I gave a silent laugh and deliberately asked him, "What is it?" "Going to watch Alex's game before he finished." Luna, who was beside him, suddenly scoffed. She's a boring old woman. Does she even know who Alex is? Through the car window, I watched her snatch the phone from Marcus's hand. Auntie, don't ask what you shouldn't. Hanging up, her tone was pampered and domineering. But she was young and beautiful, like a bright flower in full bloom, so merely indulged her, pinching her cheek, and walked with her into the VIP section. Everyone prefers youth and beauty, and I, of course, was no exception. My phone screen lit up again. It was Alex calling. His tone wasn't very good. Are you here yet? Last time you said you'd come to my game but then said something came up. It's not like that again, is it? I'm here. I tapped my knuckles against the car window. But you're too popular. I could only get bleacher seats. I'll find you after the game. Alex chuckled lightly. TS, do you really need to buy a ticket to watch my game? I had the sports club set aside a private box for you. Just go there directly. He paused, then suddenly added, Grace, have you decided? You said you'd make it up to me for missing last time. If I win this time, what's my reward? What do you want? Whatever I want. Is that okay? His voice was a little hoarse on the last few words. Even through the phone, I could imagine the slight curl of his lips, and the subtle desire that would gradually rise in his beautiful, sharp eyes as they fixed on me. I indulged him with a smile. Whatever you want. There was a second of silence on his end, then he said, Grace, if I win the championship, tonight, your time belongs to me. The game began. Through the glass, I saw Alex put on his headphones, his fingers dancing rapidly across the keyboard. His expression was serious and stern, his focused gaze not straying for a second, until the vivid red 3-0 flashed on the computer screen. Champions? He finally stood up amidst the deafening cheers of the crowd, our eyes meeting across the sea of people and intersecting lights. My lips parted and closed. Congratulations. He smiled too, mimicking me, silently mouthing, Now, you're mine. This night belonged to Alex. After the post-game interview, it was already very late. A light rain began to fall outside. As I turned from the dim alley behind the sports club into the parking lot, a hand pulled me into a car parked nearby. Grace, are you trying to run away again? The chill of the rain wrapped around me, but the boy's body pressed against mine was burning hot. A phrase flashed through my mind, full of youthful vigor. I tried to struggle, but he held me tighter. I could only explain patiently, No, weren't you still being interviewed? I was just going to handle something. I didn't expect you to finish so quickly. Grace always says things so nicely. But no one ever knows what you're really thinking. He hugged me from behind. His lips pressed against my ear. His breath was warm, stirring my hair, leaving a tingling, itchy sensation. The interview wasn't over, but it was boring. I wanted to see you, so I left early. The young man was bursting with energy. The dim car lights enveloped us as his delicate kisses fell inch by inch. Finally, his canine tooth bit gently into the back of my neck, a faint prickle of pain. Grace, it's time to keep your promise. I won the game. How are you going to reward me tonight? My vision blurred. I tried to blink away the tears that welled up with arousal, and managed to utter a single word. As my vision gradually cleared, I saw two incredibly familiar figures. That's right, Marcus. This is Alex's car. The next second, Luna bent down and tapped on the car window. Her voice was enthusiastic. Alex, I'm your fan. Can you sign something for me and my boyfriend? Her eyes were almost right in front of me, even though I knew she couldn't see anything from the outside in. Under her seemingly blazing gaze, I completely froze. From behind me, I heard the boy's low, hoarse whisper, tinged with a slight smile. Grace, are you nervous? The canine tooth retreated from the skin of my neck. The sharp sting was immediately covered by a warm, wet sensation. His slightly hurried breath brushed against my neck. If you're so afraid of being found out, why did you come to provoke me in the first place? How about I just roll down the window and tell them to get lost, okay? This was the first time I vaguely sensed the streak of wildness lurking within him. After a long moment without a response, Luna's expression stiffened. Annoyance flashed in her eyes. She tugged on Marcus, who was behind her, and he stepped forward. Mr. Sterling, I'm Marcus of the Haze. My girlfriend would like your autograph. As he spoke, his tone carried unconcealed arrogance, as if he was certain Alex wouldn't refuse a man of his standing. After 2 seconds of silence, Alex suddenly let out a cold laugh. He grabbed a jacket from beside him, draped it over my head, covering my face. Before I could react, he pushed open the car door, took a long stride, and got out. Everything was invisible beneath the jacket, The world was just blurred light and darkness. Anne's ice-cold, mocking voice. "T.S. Never heard of you," Marcus said in a deep voice. "What did you say?" I said. "I don't know you," Alex stated, word by word. "What? Are you deaf? Can't you understand plain English?" Marcus, pampered and revered, had never been publicly humiliated like this. Even though I couldn't see his face, I could imagine his dark, unpleasant expression. I couldn't help but curve my lips into a smile. "Ah, is that?" Luna suddenly shrieked. "Is that a woman's dress in the car?" Before she could finish, Alex cut her off. "Is that any of your business? Please, get lost, okay?" The car door slammed shut with a bang, and Alex got back in. I was about to take off the jacket, but he grabbed my wrist. Then my vision suddenly cleared, as the soft fabric wrapped around both my wrists, pulling them above my head and holding them there. The young man moved inch by inch closer to me, his features breathtakingly beautiful up close. Yet, there was clear displeasure in his eyes. "What a coincidence, Grace. Is this your cheating husband?" The coldness in his arched brow became even more pronounced at such close proximity. In this extremely intimate position, I couldn't help but smile helplessly. "What's the difference between him and me?" Alex didn't say anything more, just kissed me with a certain force. The familiar scent of eucalyptus, mixed with the crispness of rain, gradually filled every inch of the car's space. Then, subtly, it enveloped me. It wasn't until my thoughts were gradually lost in the surging tide that I heard his voice. "At least, I have much better taste than him. Grace, you chose me." Outside the car window, rain pattered softly. Inside the car, a damp mist filled the air, like an overwhelming downpour. Alex's home wasn't far, a half-hour drive. The moment I walked in, he gripped my shoulders. The next second, his lips found mine, grinding and crushing with an almost savage force. "It'll be gentle," he said. "It won't hurt." His hot breath brushed against my neck, moving downward. At the same time, a hand pressed firmly against the protruding butterfly bones on my back, but it suddenly stopped when it touched those uneven scars. "What is this?" His breathing suddenly grew rapid. "Did he lay hands on you?" I froze for a second, then understood. He was talking about those old whip marks. I immediately laughed. No, after all, both families have a partnership. He wouldn't go that far. My words were left unfinished, as my lips were completely covered by the young man's passionate, even reckless, kiss. When I woke up the next day, dawn had just broken. Alex was still sleeping soundly beside me. My clothes and his were tangled together, crumpled and tossed beside the bed, borrowing a sliver of light filtering through the curtain gap. I turned my head to look at him, then got up and left. My car was parked downstairs. As I got in, Sarah, my assistant, handed me an iced Americano and said in a low voice, "Ms. Vance, the second phase of the equity acquisition was completed last night. No one has discovered our involvement yet." I held the cup, listening quietly as she recounted the details. "Also, your father called this morning, ordering you to return to the Vance family estate today." I nodded. "Don't pay attention to him. Block his number if he calls again. Everything else, continue as planned." Sarah nodded. Before starting the car, she hesitated and glanced at my neck. "Ms. Vance, your neck?" I looked in the rearview mirror. Understanding, I raised my hand and carefully buttoned my shirt to the very top. "Don't worry about it. It's just a playful bite." I had intended to go home, change, and then head to the office. But I never imagined Marcus would be home. He was sitting on the sofa, his shirt open, holding several papers. Seeing me, he said coldly, "Grace, aren't you going to explain yourself?" I glanced at the papers. It was the divorce agreement I had asked my lawyer to draft earlier. I remained silent. "Speak up. Why are you suddenly mute?" He abruptly stood up and strode over to me. "You, of all people, have the right to talk about divorce with me? Grace, have you forgotten how you demeaned yourself? Knelt before me, and begged me to marry you by clutching at my pant leg?" He threw the divorce agreement at my face. The thin, sharp edge of the paper cut the skin near my eye, and blood began to flow. I raised my hand and felt the wet stickiness. I took a soft breath. "I thought you and Luna had true love, and you needed me to make way for her. You have no right to decide my affairs." Marcus laughed in fury. "Grace, you're nothing but a dog the Vance family raised and sent to my side. Now that the Vance family members are showing you a little favor, and you can say a few words at Vance, have you forgotten your place?" He gripped my chin, forcing me to look up at him. "For the second phase of the Willow District project, Hayes will cease all cooperation with Vance. Grace, This is a lesson for you. You only get to live like a human being when I choose to grant you that courtesy. He released my chin, letting out a small laugh. He had returned to his usual condescending demeanor. Go home and think hard about how to please me, so I can forgive your transgression this time. For instance, kneel and beg me again. After left, I remained standing still. Sunlight streamed in diagonally from the window. I stood in the light, slowly exhaling, and took out my phone from my bag. That's when I discovered Alex's name trending. Alex, according to insiders, after last night's regional final, Alex was seen secretly meeting his girlfriend in the parking lot. Their actions were ambiguous. The marketing account that broke the news also posted a photo. A dimly lit parking lot, fine rain falling. Alex stood in front of an open car door, one hand on the doorframe, his expression cold, his eyes extremely sharp. Everything inside the car behind him was completely obscured, except for a corner revealing a soft blue dress hem and the logo of high heels. The comments section instantly exploded. If I'm not mistaken, Alex is only 19, right? And he's already dating? 19 is adult age. What's wrong with dating? It hasn't affected his game, no. Am I the only one who cares who his girlfriend is? I checked the brand of those high heels. They're very expensive, tens of thousands a pair, and hers are a limited edition. Could he be dating a sugar mama? Someone from the esports club called me soon after. Boss, reporters are already asking about this. Should we manage the PR? I pressed the wound on my cheek and calmly replied, deny everything about Alex's relationship. However, before the press conference could even be officially held, someone photographed him in a coffee shop near the esports club. In the picture, Alex sat with a cold expression in front of a strawberry cake. Anyone could see the displeasure in his eyes. Someone bravely stepped forward to ask, Alex, are you in a bad mood? He swept his gaze over them and replied, yes, I had a fight with my girlfriend. This video quickly shot to the top of the trending list. His phone call came when I was standing in front of the Vance family old family estate. Grace, he said, are you really planning to sleep with me and then run? The evening sky slowly swallowed the last vestiges of dusk, inch by inch. I stood in the gradually darkening blood-red afterglow and calmly responded, yes, I said. Now that I have you, I've realized you're nothing special. It's boring. After a few seconds of silence, Alex spoke, his voice trembling slightly. I told you, don't toy with me. Grace, those were just unspoken courtesies between adults. Why would you take them seriously? I chuckled. I warned you. Alex, Marcus and I are both bad people. There was complete silence on the other end. A moment later, the call disconnected. I pushed open the door and walked in. A ceramic plate flew at me, smashing against my forehead. Grace, I sent you to marry into the Hayes family to please Marcus and maintain the long-term partnership between the Vance family and Hayes. Could you not even do this one thing right? Robert stood in the living room, his face as cold as frost, to the study. There was a leather whip in the study. The crisscrossing whip marks on my back were left there when I refused to marry Marcus. At that time, Marcus's original girlfriend was Mia, Robert's daughter with his first wife. Unfortunately, after an argument, Mia married someone else out of spite. Enraged, Marcus threatened to cut off cooperation with the Vance family. In desperation, Robert brought me, his illegitimate daughter who had grown up in the slums for 20 years, back home, 40 lashes in total, until finally, I lay prostrate on the ground, my back a bloody mess, almost exposing bone. In the overwhelming pain, I heard my own voice. Okay, I'll find a way to make him marry me. It was just like 4 years ago. The whip sliced through the air and landed on me. But this time I didn't shed a single tear. Only surging ambition mixed with pain, growing rapidly within my flesh. I looked up into the study's bright lights and smiled. Dad, I'll find a way to make Hayes continue its cooperation with the Vance family. That night, I had a few drinks. I dreamt of the first time I met Alex. He had just transferred back to our country from an esports team abroad. Young, he was already one of the most popular players in the entire esports scene. At that moderately sized business banquet, he was one of the focal points. I was carrying a wine glass when I bumped into him in the garden. I smiled warmly and friendly. Hello, Mr. Sterling. My name is Grace. Oh, I know you, he replied lazily. Earlier inside, they were calling you a ninja. When I came out, I saw your husband speeding off with his girlfriend. My smile didn't falter. I know, you're not angry? No. Don't you want to get revenge on him? How would I get revenge? Under the soft moonlight, His young face was impossibly handsome, with a hint of sharp light in his pupils. A sudden wave of tipsiness made me lean closer to him. Could it be, Mr. Sterling, that you're willing to be my partner in an eye for an eye? Alex burst out laughing. Grace, I don't have such peculiar tastes. I blinked. That's a shame then. As I said this, I started to pull away, but he suddenly grabbed my wrist, giving up so easily. The young man raised an eyebrow slightly. Perhaps if Grace says a little more, I might change my mind. The sudden ringing of my phone woke me from my dream. I picked it up, and Alex's voice came through. Grace, I'm downstairs at your place. He still carried the chill of a late autumn night, yet the young man's body was burning hot, and his kisses were fiercely reckless. You said some pretty harsh things. I actually thought you meant them. You weren't serious. Those words were all for me. I wasn't completely sober yet. I frowned and pinched his chin. Quiet, just do it, no more talking. Alex stopped abruptly. A moment later, he curved his lips slowly, forming a beautiful yet dangerously alluring smile. Grace, you said it? The night wind stirred, rippling the calm autumn waters. By the end, I clung to Alex's shoulders, trembling uncontrollably. His palm, bathed in the dim light, felt like a rushing stream. When's call came, my entire body tensed. Alex gasped, pressed down on my hand that was about to slide to the hang-up button, and answered the phone. Grace, you went back to the Vance family estate, got a beating, and still haven't figured out how to make me forgive you. Marcus's voice was tinged with drunkenness. Forget it. I'll give you a chance. I'm at the lounge. Come pick me up. The words don't have time didn't make it out. A sudden increase in pressure from behind made my breathing ragged. Even though I bit my lip hard, I couldn't stop a few ambiguous gasps from escaping. Marcus's tone changed drastically. What are you doing? I couldn't form coherent words, only managing to hang up the phone with trembling fingers after Alex eased his grip. Alex chuckled softly and leaned close to my ear, his breath hot. Grace, now, this time is completely mine. Alex left the next morning. Before he did, I thought about it and couldn't resist. You shouldn't have admitted to reporters that you have a girlfriend. You're still young. He looked at me sideways. Aren't you my girlfriend? It was just for fun. Oh, he nodded indifferently. Then you can only have fun with me, Grace. A few days later, there was a grand business banquet. When I arrived, I immediately spotted Marcus at the center. Surrounded by a group of people, like a moon among stars, Luna was clinging intimately to his arm. Someone suddenly called out, Grace is here. The lively atmosphere instantly chilled. A group of eyes collectively fell upon me. A moment later, Marcus suddenly let out a cold laugh. Did you find that your little trick that night didn't work, and now you've chased me here? Luna also started to laugh. Grace, you're really childish. If you want Marcus to be jealous, you need to be more convincing. Look in the mirror. No one would want you, even if you threw yourself at them. I suddenly understood. That night on the phone, Marcus had indeed heard my voice, but he was confident, convinced I was just using tactics to make him jealous. Someone close to him had released a recording from 4 years ago. When I begged him to marry me, Marcus, I'm Grace of the Vance family. It's okay if you don't know me now, but in the future, after we're married, it'll help you. That night, he had just left a private club with a few friends, with a touch of drunkenness. He scrutinized me mockingly. What can you, an illegitimate child from the streets, do to help me? Why don't you kneel down now, say some sweet words, and beg me properly? Maybe you'll actually agree. For instance, just say you'll be my most loyal dog. After a few seconds of silence, the clear sound of my knees hitting the floor came through the recording. As long as Mr. Hayes is willing to marry me, I will be your most loyal dog. The people nearby burst into laughter. Holy crap, she actually said it. An illegitimate daughter from that kind of background, just dreaming of rising up. What integrity could she have? Marcus, his arm still around Luna, raised an eyebrow. His mocking expression was just as it had been 4 years ago. Using such laughable tactics to get my attention is less effective than just kneeling here again. For a moment, almost everyone present had their eyes on me, filled with scrutiny and contempt. Intense shame washed over me. But then a girl not far away gasped, pointing at me. Her shoes. Why are they exactly the same as Alex's girlfriend's limited edition pair? Didn't they say they're impossible to find anywhere now? Marcus's face suddenly changed. The next second, a cheer erupted from the doorway. Alex is here. I spun around. I saw the young man push through a barrage of cameras, his expression indifferent as he moved through the crowd. He truly had an exceptionally striking face. his brows sharp and defined. When slightly lowered, his presence became even more formidable. But when he focused on me with a smile, his eyes seemed to light up with starlight. He walked straight to me, lowered his head slightly, and patiently smoothed the stray hairs from my ear. Then he affectionately called out, "Grace." Marcus suddenly stood up, his eyes widening in disbelief. He exclaimed, furious and shocked, "The person in the car that night, was that you?" Luna, still linked to his arm, probably realized something, and her smile immediately became strained. She accused me, "Grace, how could you engage in marital infidelity like this? Don't you think it's too much?" Alex stood beside me, putting his hand on my shoulder, almost pressing against me. My phone vibrated lightly twice in my clutch. I took it out and saw a text message from Sarah. "Ms. Vance, everything went smoothly. The contract has just been signed." The slight unease that had hung over me immediately lifted, melting away as silently as spring snow. I slowly exhaled, straightened up, and looked at Luna. "You know what? You're the last person who has the right to say that." I curved my eyes, then shifted my gaze to Marcus beside her. "You like young, pretty, and obedient women. I like that too. What's so strange about it?" Alex's hand on my shoulder tightened slightly. He looked at Marcus and let out a cold laugh. "If you were attractive enough to her, would I have been able to take advantage of your vulnerability?" Marcus roared. "Grace, shut up, shut up. That's all you do." Alex, being tall, stood a head and a half taller than Marcus. He looked down at Marcus, his contempt clearly visible. "When things go wrong, all you do is question Grace. Why don't you reflect on yourself? Look at the wrinkles on your face, your sagging eyes. You old man who can't even speak properly. What do you have to compare yourself to me?" Humiliated publicly by a young man 10 years his junior, Marcus's face turned ashen, emotions surged in his eyes, but in the end, he still looked at me. He used the same threat H used countless times before. "Hayes will no longer cooperate with the Vance family. Who cares?" I abruptly cut him off, a mocking smile slowly spreading across my lips. "Instead of that, you should quickly ask your people why this quarter's 5-nation trade cooperation contract wasn't signed and instead went to someone else." With that, I turned and walked away. Alex followed closely behind me. I tilted my head slightly and asked him, "Weren't you supposed to be training? Why are you here?" "I also received an invitation." He lowered his gaze slightly, looking into my eyes. "And you haven't contacted me these past few days." "I missed you, Grace." I had indeed been very busy these past few days, fighting for a share originally. I had only come tonight to confirm whether Marcus was truly here, to prevent him from making any new moves before the contract was about to be signed. Fortunately, I had overestimated Marcus. He had always looked down on me. That's why, in the years after our marriage, I covertly built my company right under his nose, acquired an esports team, and then turned it around. I navigated between Hayes and Vance, growing my company step by step by gathering intelligence. Until I reached this point, coming back to reality, we had already reached the door. I hadn't yet figured out how to respond to Alex's direct words when a group of reporters surrounded us. "Ms. Vance, are you the other person in the car photo from that night? Has your marriage with Mr. Hayes ended? Publicly cheating during a marriage. Ms. Vance, what are your thoughts on this? Bringing your cheating partner so brazenly to an event like this. Are you not ashamed but rather proud?" The last reporter's question carried obvious, undisguised malice. I stared into the male reporter's eyes, which held a hidden excitement and disdain, and suddenly laughed. "Shouldn't you be asking that question to Marcus, who's sitting inside?" Starting the day after we got married 4 years ago, he was photographed every couple of months, openly bringing different new girlfriends to various events. "What did you say back then?" I tapped my chin with a finger, feigning a sudden realization. "Oh, you said that marriages of convenience are driven by mutual benefit, and it's perfectly normal to find a young, agreeable partner and keep them on the side. If I truly cheated, then Marcus was the one who violated the marriage contract first. He was in the wrong, and I was simply retaliating. Furthermore, my relationship with Alex is not what you all imagine." Saying this, I subtly stepped back, gracefully evading his attempt to take my hand. "Haven't you all been curious about who the current majority shareholder of his team, Shanyu Sports, is, after it was acquired by a mysterious investor?" The young man abruptly turned his head in the sudden chill of the night wind. I spoke calmly and indifferently. "I am his boss." As I spoke these words, countless past moments related to Alex flashed before my eyes, like fragmented scenes from a film reel. At that banquet, I had added him as a contact, but there was no further communication. It wasn't until that night, when a feverish Alex, by some twist of fate, dialed my number instead of his friends from medicine. I carried a bag of fever reducers and used the code to unlock his front door. His cheeks were flushed from the fever, and he clearly wasn't thinking straight. After taking the medicine, his burning cheek pressed against my hand, rubbing back and forth. I'm so hot, and yet so cold. I looked down at him, quietly asking then, should I hold you? Alex gazed at me with misty, watery eyes, a slight twitch at the corner of his lips, his voice hoarse. Grace, are you trying to take advantage of my vulnerability? Yes, I said, but you also have the chance to refuse me. He didn't answer. He simply reached out and pulled me, sending me tumbling onto him. My hands and body were always cool, perhaps finding it comfortable. He wrapped himself around me, pressing closer and closer. Grace, aren't you uncomfortable in such a tight outfit? I am, I replied. I cupped his face. Then help me take it off. Good boy. Even though it didn't go all the way, the chaotic reversal of all our relationships began that night. I admit I was driven by lust at first sight, never intending a long-term future with him. All I wanted was that moment of pleasure, and he was so adept at this push and pull, I had assumed his intentions were the same as mine. A sudden force on my wrist snapped me back to reality. Alex, with a cold expression, gripped my wrist and pulled me, striding forward. When reporters tried to block us and ask more questions, he raised an eyebrow, looking at them with a half smile. I'm going back to the esports team with my boss to review the match and discuss next quarter's strategy, he said. Do you want to come and listen in? The coolness and sharpness in his voice seemed on the verge of breaking through. The reporters still wouldn't give up, reaching out to try and stop him. But the girlfriend you mentioned, then Alex lost his patience, uttering a single word expressionlessly. Get lost. The moonlight wove its pattern. Alex and I sat in the car, the silence flowing between us. A few seconds later, he suddenly let out a soft laugh. Grace, aren't you going to tell me something? I sighed softly. It's my fault at first, with how you were. I thought this was an unspoken game between adults. But I also told you, we were just having fun. That's not what I'm talking about. He suddenly interrupted me. Why didn't you ever tell me you were the esports team's owner? I looked at him calmly. It would have been too much trouble. He paused, as if suddenly understanding. That day, after we were photographed and went viral, the manager came to me and said he wanted to hold a press conference to deny the relationship. That was your idea, wasn't it? Alex leaned over, bracing himself against the seat back behind me. Grace, am I that much of an embarrassment in your eyes? The distance closed inch by inch, our breaths mingling, the atmosphere charged with intimacy, but in the reflection of his eyes, I only saw my own, calm to the point of indifference. Because we weren't in a relationship, how I live my life, what path I take, was decided for years ago. I won't disrupt my rhythm for you. As for why I didn't tell you I was the sports club's owner, it's because this I deliberated, choosing a less harsh word, fleeting romance after it ends. I hope it won't affect your future work with the esports team. Because ensuring I perform well for the esports team and achieve higher commercial value is also part of your career. His nose almost brushed mine, and in the intertwining breaths, I smelled the crisp blue eucalyptus scent on him once more. Since you've considered everything so thoroughly, he said, aren't you worried that by announcing this today, I might transfer teams during the current off-season? I was silent for a few seconds. That's your freedom as well, he scoffed, getting off me. He pushed the car door open and left without looking back. There was also another reason. Alex was only 19, and his career was at its peak. Meanwhile, my marriage to Marcus hadn't ended yet. If our hidden relationship truly came to light, it would only become a stain on his life. But this was a trivial reason, not worth mentioning, so I didn't say it. I just sat in the car, watching his figure disappear completely from my sight. Then I took out a cigarette pack from my pocket and lit a cigarette. I didn't smoke it, just watched it burn quietly between my fingers. The curling white smoke blurred my vision. The pungent smell of cheap tobacco seemed to drag me back many years in an instant. Robert was a truly repulsive man. He married into the Vance family on the strength of a decent face, but couldn't resist going out and having affairs. Afraid of being caught, he sought out my mother, a massage parlor worker. I was discovered by the Vance family's eldest daughter right after I was born. Robert knelt, weeping and begging for her forgiveness, and only managed to return to the family with great difficulty. So I grew up with my mother, in that tiny massage parlor located in an old tenement building. When I did my homework hunched over the old table, My mother and her clients were separated from me by just a curtain. Sometimes she would call me in to pour her some water to soothe her hoarse throat. She didn't pay much attention to me. Apart from her clients, she spent all her other time at the mahjong table. No one liked me at school. They deliberately whisper in front of me, saying I was just like my mother, already infected with some shameful disease at a young age. It's hard for me to find a specific and accurate word to describe those days, but whenever I think of the past, the first image that flashes into my mind is that window emitting a cheap pink light, and the dim, sordid gazes of those coming and going clients falling upon me. My desires and ambitions were greater than anyone else's. I yearned to climb higher and higher for that. I was willing to pay any price. A cigarette burned down in my hand. I was startled back to attention by the falling ash burning me. I called Sarah. The final phase of the equity acquisition plan begins tonight. For the next week, I was practically living at the office. During this time, Marcus called me many times, but I hung up on all of them. He also sent me text messages, which I didn't even look at. I reluctantly replied with just one sentence. You already reviewed the divorce agreement beforehand. I've had my lawyer send you the final version. If there are no issues, just sign it. The 5-nation trade cooperation contract I had negotiated was originally one of Hayes's pillar projects. Using collaboration with the Vance family, I gradually extracted intelligence and core technology, then, bypassing Hayes, I found the head of the other party in advance. I was still busy in my office when Sarah suddenly knocked on the door in a hurry. Ms. Vance, your father and Mr. Hayes from Hayes have come to the office, insisting on seeing you. I paused. Looking up, show them to the conference room, I said, getting up and walking towards the door. Before opening the door, I turned back and instructed. Also, call the police and tell them someone is causing a disturbance at the office. As I walked into the conference room, I was met with Robert's full-force slap across my face. It turned my head, made my ears ring, and burst a metallic taste of blood in my mouth. Absurd. He pointed at my nose and yelled, have you forgotten who you are? Who gave you the audacity to acquire Vance shares and embezzle funds? Robert, I think you've misunderstood something. I cut him off, raising an eyebrow slightly at him. After 3 equity transfers, Vance no longer exists. If I want, I can change its name anytime. It wouldn't even be out of the question to merge it directly into my own company. The family's company's restructuring efforts failed. Its market value repeatedly shrank, and clients were lost. After his original wife passed away, he took over the company, but he was accustomed to living off others and couldn't manage it himself. After I married, Robert arranged for me to join Vance for the convenience of our collaboration. It was a very minor position, but with a lot of responsibilities. Yet, I had no real power, but that was fine. What I wanted was never just Vance, this company that had long been in decline. Grace, Marcus asked me in a low voice from the side, when did you start planning all of this? I pretended to ponder seriously, roughly, from the night I went to find you 4 years ago, acquiring Enterprise's shares, hijacking projects from me, and making other investments. Where did you get all this capital? You studied finance. Don't you know what leverage trading is? He suddenly stood up, staring at me with a grim expression. Such high risk, and you dared to gamble on it? Why not? My life has always been a high-stakes gamble. I curved my lips, slowly beginning to smile. Besides, the fact that you're standing here proves I won the bet. Robert was about to lunge at me again, but the police who arrived intervened and stopped him. He was handcuffed behind his back, cursing at me, you unfilial daughter. You bitch. I paid him no mind, simply looking at the police. Turning my head, I showed them my swollen cheek and the dried blood at the corner of my lips. He suddenly trespassed into my office and assaulted me. The surveillance cameras here recorded the entire incident. I still feel dizzy and nauseous, and suspect I have a concussion. I need to go to the hospital for further examination. The police took Robert away. Throughout the entire process, Marcus stood by, watching me, an unusual glint in his eyes. Grace, have you ever considered, he suddenly began, that we don't have to get a divorce? I looked at him expressionlessly. Grace, I truly regret it. Now that Vance is firmly in your grasp, we can absolutely discuss an equal partnership. We've been married for 4 years. And you were always so kind to me before. Wasn't it because you also had some feelings for me? I previously underestimated you because the rumors about you were quite nasty. Plus, when you first came to me, you seemed so submissive. I didn't know his gaze towards me was full of what seemed like deep affection. Didn't know what? I abruptly cut him off, Didn't know you were just desperate, perhaps? A few days ago, you were flaunting your affair in front of me, and today, you find me not as helpless and vulnerable as you imagine. So you're suddenly interested again? Or did losing that trade contract hit Hayes hard, forcing Mr. Hayes to swallow his pride and come here to put on an act with me, hoping to get a share? Marcus's expression instantly turned cold. I twirled the pen in my hand, watching him with interest. Now that the contract is in my hands, what right do you have to talk about equal partnership with me? Why don't you just get down on your knees, say a few sweet words, and beg me properly? Maybe you'll actually agree. Marcus's face showed an expression of utter humiliation. If there's nothing else, Mr. Hayes, please leave. I politely nodded at him, sign the divorce agreement and send it to me. And Hayes, don't even think about trying any tricks. I've spent 4 years in the Hayes family, and I'm not without evidence. It's better to maintain some dignity after left. I stood up and walked out. Sarah was standing by the door, holding her phone, looking at me expectantly. What's wrong? Boss, you're truly amazing. She handed me an ice pack, then looked at me with adoration. When you chose me, saying you'd lead me to overthrow Vance and build a new empire, I thought you were joking, and that please leave you just said. I had a flash of Alex, boss. Even though you told the reporters you're just his boss, the way he looks at you is definitely not innocent. As she spoke, she unlocked her phone and showed it to me. Only then did I realize that Alex's name was trending again, only this time, it was with me. Alex Grasashani mistorbe staustriber Alex thurwefala fervoral thue lucasation 4 trending topics. Why didn't the sports team's operations manager inform me? I scanned them quickly, then pressed the ice pack onto my swollen cheek and looked at Sarah. Have you handled the public relations? She scratched her head, it seems. We don't need to. Everyone's reactions are quite positive. I clicked into the comments section and realized what she said was actually true. Grace is so beautiful. My brother's lucky to have a boss like her. Forget about their relationship not being confirmed yet. Even if it's true, in a marriage of convenience, everyone does their own thing. What's so strange about that? Seriously. Are you reporters blind? Why isn't anyone interviewing Marcus, that rotten apple who cheated dozens of times over for years, instead of fixating on my brother and his benefactor? I believe in Grace, but I don't believe in my brother. The way he looks at her, his eyes were practically dripping with desire. The accompanying picture was taken at the entrance of the banquet that night. Behind us, the hall was brightly lit, and Alex and I stood side by side at the entrance. I calmly looked at the camera, but he turned his head slightly to look at me. Whether it was the light or the moonlight in his pupils, his eyes, as he looked at me, appeared exceptionally bright, carrying traces of lingering affection. So this is how it looked from an outsider's perspective. I stared at the photo for a while, deliberately ignoring the slight ripple in my heart, and handed the phone back to Sarah. She looked at me expectantly. I smiled. Tell everyone we'll have a meeting in 40 minutes. Normally, such topics wouldn't be discussed for long. But to my surprise, the discussions about Alex and me intensified over the next period, especially after news of Marcus and my divorce broke. The benefactor is divorced brother. Go for it. If I just openly ship this couple like this, will I be spoiling them too much? How about this, Alex? You win a championship at the national competition, and we'll help you win your wife. This comment received nearly 100,000 likes and was pinned as the top comment. I asked Sarah, what exactly happened? The buzz from these trending topics usually dies down quickly. But a few days ago, a recording of you begging Marcus from before was leaked by someone. Originally, a lot of people in the comments section were cursing you out. But that night, a fanfiction writer posted a story about you and Alex. Sarah glanced at me a little cautiously. It described you two as an obsessive and devoted personality and a ruthless career woman who'd stop at nothing for success. This kind of character dynamic is really popular right now, and the writing was incredibly evocative. It even had a very atmospheric smut scene, which instantly made everyone deeply ship the pairing. Then, more fanfiction started pouring in. Because of the shipping trend, our Shani sports team has gained several new sponsorship inquiries. She opened her phone's photo album to show me. I silently scrolled through the pictures she'd saved, my fingertip pausing for a moment on one of them. Put your phone away, I said. Have the esports team's operations department keep an eye on it. As long as public opinion is positive for now, it's fine. But if any negative feedback emerges, suppress the buzz immediately. She nodded repeatedly. As she left, I heard her muttering. Boss is really hard-hearted, still organizing work in this situation, but it makes them even more shippable. Hee hee. Perhaps it was because of Sarah's shares. That night, for the first time in a long while, I actually dreamed of Alex. I dreamed of the night he won the championship. After and Luna left, Alex pinned me against the back seat of the car. His jacket bound my wrists, the discarded clothing hanging loosely from his arm. I gasped impatiently. Let's wait till we're home. We'll be discovered here. She pressed a long, slender index finger to my lips. If you're afraid of being found out, Grace, then be careful and don't make a sound. Tonight, you're my prize. The previously spacious interior felt narrow in the gradually warming air. By the end, it felt as if his beautiful fingers had played me, sending me to a soft, cloud-like peak enveloped in mist. I saw Alex a few days later at the esports team meeting. When I entered, all the team members stood up and greeted me. Only he remained seated, his gaze indifferent. Caleb, the support player beside him, tugged at his sleeve. Alex, the boss is here. Only then did his gaze drift towards me. Hello, boss. Throughout the entire meeting, Alex and I had almost no direct interaction. Young people are naturally fickle. I thought he had probably moved on from our brief arrangement as lovers. That was fine. After the meeting, I stayed behind to gather some things. When I went out, I found Alex leaning against the corridor wall, looking down and playing on his Nintendo. After a moment's thought, I spoke in a gentle tone. I saw those trending topics too. I said, it's just a bunch of kids messing around. No need to pay too much attention to it. The split starts in 3 days. I'll have the PR department contact the media to gradually shift the public's focus to the competition. He paused, stopping the game, and looked up at me. You saw it? I did. Was it good? I couldn't help but feel startled for a second. Then I replied, it was. Sarah who shared it? I didn't look closely. Leave it be, he said carelessly. Don't worry about public opinion. The more attention we get, the more it boosts the esports team's commercial value. You paid a sky-high transfer fee to acquire me, so I should at least be worth something, shouldn't I? Less than 2 days later, Marcus was anonymously reported for tax evasion and illegal occupation of property, and he was taken to the detention center. That same night, the fanfiction writer who first penned stories about Alex and me updated with a new work. To celebrate my ex-husband's incarceration, I've specially written a new piece of fanfiction. I casually clicked on it and saw it was a conference room play scenario. After that, every few days after a match, she would update with another substantial piece. She actually amassed hundreds of thousands of followers within just a few months. The final match of the spring, Alex and his teammates secured victory with a decisive 3-1 lead as the new owner of the esports team. I stood behind Alex, watching them lift the trophy together. Caleb turned back and said, "Boss, want to come take a picture with us?" I responded, walking over. It turned out that the only empty spot left was next to Alex. We stood shoulder to shoulder, holding the championship trophy together. It was late spring, almost summer, and the weather was hot. He was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, and his slightly warm skin pressed against mine. The blue eucalyptus scent, made more prominent by the warmth of the air, made me inexplicably think of the article I'd read before bed last night. The subtle, almost imperceptible sweet scent on Grace, mingling with the woody notes of Alex's scent, became a moonlit elegy. Damp waves crashed against the rocks, churning white foam, every inch imbued with such a complex fragrance. Alex, his voice hoarse, asked, "May I taste?" "Boss, why is your face so red?" I snapped back to attention, realizing we were already at the celebration banquet. Though I didn't really want to admit it, I'd been absent-minded the whole way, my mind filled with indescribable thoughts. The fictional descriptions and the intensely compatible pleasures of our actual encounters intertwined repeatedly in my mind, gradually transforming into an inexplicable urge. I downed several drinks in a row, then stood up. Drunkenness surged. I steadied myself, leaning on the table. "You all celebrate," I said. "I'm going home first. The boss is drunk. Alex, go see her home." The words "no need" were on my lips, but before I could utter them, Alex had already stood up. "Let's go." The elevator ascended, stopping at the 46th floor penthouse. "You can stop here," I said. "Go back and continue celebrating with them." Having said that, I turned my head somewhat slowly and unlocked the door. Just as I was about to step inside, my wrist was suddenly grasped. I was pulled forcefully into an embrace, then pushed, stumbling into the room with unsteady steps. Alex and I fell onto the sofa together. The room was dark, no lights on, but the city lights filtering in through the floor-to-ceiling window were just enough to outline his features in the darkness. "Grace, why aren't you speaking?" Alex murmured by my lips. "You're so smart. Haven't you guessed already?" "Guessed what?" "Guessed that after your divorce from Marcus was exposed, all those speculations and discussions online about our relationship were orchestrated by me." He leaned in closer, his lips almost touching mine. I was silent for a moment, my reason gradually returning from the haze of drunkenness. "I did guess," I said. "But I don't understand your purpose in doing all of this." He suddenly shifted, swinging a long leg over my waist, straddling me completely. "From beginning to end, I've had only one goal: to be with you. But you've clearly been avoiding me. That night, you said we were just a fleeting romance, not actually dating. Then I wanted to show you that the whole world supports us being in love," he said, leaning down as he spoke. The distance closed, inch by inch, as he pressed closer, rubbing his cheek against mine. "Whether it's making the best of a bad situation or letting a pretense become reality, I'm going to like you. The more I like you, the more I resent Marcus. Even if you were just nominally married, what right did he have to possess you for years?" So I found a way to put him in the detention center. My fingers ran through his soft hair, tightening slightly. The young man tilted his head back, his taut neckline and Adam's apple prominent, beautiful yet fragile. I whispered, "I thought you'd hate me." "What if I did hate you? When I wake up, the first thought that comes to mind is still wanting to be with you. I looked into some things about your past and realized that for you to be standing before me now, you've already overcome immense difficulties." He cupped my face, murmuring against my lips, "Grace, there are few people in this world as strong and resolute as you, and I'm still so glad that when you were driven by lust at first sight, you chose me. It doesn't matter if there's no official title. It doesn't matter if you only have desire for me and no love." The kisses trailed down my body, leaving a broken line of moisture, reflecting the moonlight. Everything flowed in this dimly lit night, perfectly ambiguous. Even the hidden madness in his bones became less discreet. Like two train cars coupled on a track, Alex held me, and we stumbled towards the window, bracing against the glass. We looked at the moon. "Grace, hold steady." After a long, wet kiss, my gaze, filled with drunkenness and desire, drifted absently towards the window. From the 46th floor, the moon seemed close enough to touch, and the entire city's landscape and light stretched out below. In my drifting thoughts, countless fragments of the past flashed through my mind, that pink light that had shone for so many years, the swaying curtain with occasional glimpses of sordid scenes, the dense old tenement buildings, the narrow alleys, the winter snow that lingered well into spring, trampled into muddy slush. I looked up from the gloomy alley, unable to even see the full moon in the night sky. From then on, my heart held only a craving for power and desire. But when did I start to occasionally long for Alex's gaze? Always so sincere and fervent. When he looked at me, the largest wave crashed violently against the rocks, scattering white foam. The emptiness in my heart was suddenly filled with burning heat. I gripped Alex's shoulders, gasping for breath, my vision blurred with falling tears. He gazed at me, raising a hand to brush my sweat-dampened, messy hair behind my ear, and spoke hoarsely. "Spring is almost over. Grace, now, I give you my heart, and your heart can forever be free."